Good afternoon. Sorry about that. Manahu to everybody. Been very interesting topics we've been discussing. And we have been restoring meadows since about 2010. Well, actually 2003. But from 2014, we have 6 meadows with the Sierra National Forest that we have restored them during the drought. We are now slated to do 9 more meadows, which we are currently assessing. So this is, we've had discussions over the years of looking at beaver and bringing beaver back. We used to have beaver in our Sierra National Forest, and they did a wonderful job. So that's been part of our discussion. I have a video ready to go. It's a link.
I'm ready to go with it if you are.
Go for it, and then we'll continue on. I know. If it acts up, then we'll switch out. Okay. We'll switch out. Sorry about that. Go ahead and turn it off. That's not working.
It's working perfectly on mine. Can everybody else see a thumbs up? Is it working well? I think it's just your internet right now, Ron.
Okay, then.
First of all, Manahu, and means hello in our language. I'm Mono, and we're here on Miwok area. So what we're doing is taking care of the resources that are used culturally by the tribes. We're also sitting on a 40-acre archaeological cultural site. Tribal people came from Yosemite, Mid-Pines, Mariposa, Bootjack, Ahwahnee, Corsical, Oakhurst, North Fork, Auberry, Toll House, Clovis, and they came to gather sticks for basketry, berries for food. There's medicine plants here of all different kinds. So here in this area, I have a cultural burn permit in which from January 1 to June 1, I can burn any day I want, even when it's a non-burn day, except for extreme non-burn days. And if it's an extreme non-burn day, I'm not burning either. So that though is important because I have, like today is a setup with 3 different colleges and 4 or 5 different tribes and some agency folks have already been here today and still are from the governor's office. And so that's important for us to be able to do what we need to do and help people be a part of it so that they have a better understanding.
I'm here to learn about like the cultural practices to help preserve our forests by taking care of it rather than just letting, I guess, nature take its toll.
And why is this important to you?
It's important because there's been a lot of, nature is really important to me, and I like to see what are ways that I can do to better work with nature that are sustainable.
Calm on the spot.
I am out here today at the Cultural Burn with Ron Goode, North Fork Mono Tribe, and a bunch of other students and agencies out here today, and what we are doing is we are gardening in a forest, really. We are cultivating new growth through a traditional method.
The important part of what we're trying to do is to change policies that have been here for 120 years, including fire suppression. You know, that fire should be something that is, from the native point of view, it's healthy, it's necessary, it's a tool for us to revitalize the land. Okay. Yeah, fire's importance to the natural ecosystem is what we have today. We're experiencing throughout California raging wildfires that are burning 150,000, 250,000 acres because the land has not been being cared for in a proper manner.
When we see these extreme fires, that's when it's tipped the scale out of balance a little bit. And that's largely because fire was taken off the land through fire suppression policies for a very long time. And Native peoples were not allowed to put fire on the land as they had previously done for thousands and thousands of years.
And so when they lived on the land, they took care of it. And unfortunately, time has slipped away. So we have a lot of downed trees, a lot of drought-stricken trees. And when they lived out here, they needed it for wood. And so everything was always cleaned up, and it was really park-like. And so we've been creating this, emulating this park-like look by taking care of the bushes. And when we burn, we're doing what we call a cultural burn. And the idea of that is to restore life, bring it back to life.
What is the problem? Are you there, Teresa?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Sorry. I guess go ahead. And it is a good effort.
It worked perfectly
I
on
apologize.
everybody else. I think it was just yours, Ron. And we can,
Is it?
can we share that link with everybody to watch it later if they would like as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll put that in the chat.
If that works. Okay. What do I need to do? Share my screen? Just.
Yeah, if you've got another video, share your screen and you can pick what it is you want.
We're burning to restore the land.
Oops. Hope I didn't lose you.
Nope, you're good.
Still there.
Okay. Where am I? Can you see me? No?
Yes. We can see you and we can see your screen as well.
Oh, okay. All I see is the screen. I'm sorry. I don't see anything else. All right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can, that specific window you can close because that's the meeting we're on.
Let me just rock and roll. So our people have been, of course, using fire for thousands of years and keeping the land open. And one of the things that we need to back up just a little bit to pre-1850, when before the colonial American came across and began to settle in California. Many of these folks came across the Sierras and connected to trails that were open, and they had no problem coming over the Sierras. And so a lot of this is recorded, whether you're talking about Fremont or Muir or Walker or any of these other people who came over the Sierras, 1834s, 1840s, 50s, 60s. And when the Native American was out on the land, you're looking at pre-1800, we're talking about 350,000 plus Indians living on the land. It's when we make that statement, there basically is no one living on the land today. We all utilize the land and we're out on the land, but we don't live on the land. And that means that if that was, you had no way of going to the store, you don't bring in, bought in food, that your food comes from the land. And so, for the Native American, we had over 200 cultural resources, 95 different food sources. And you had to ensure that your food was not only plentiful and to take care of all your people, but to be able to be sustainable for 5 to 10 years ahead of time. And therefore you had to, plan and make sure that your crops were always producing. And so that's where fire came into place, of being able to utilize the fire that we needed to restore, rejuvenate, give new life to the vegetation that is producing our foods and our cultural resources. Unfortunately, we all know the history and the story of when the ranchers first came in. They actually worked with the tribes, and some of you, I heard, were 4th-generation ranchers, and your grandparents and great grandparents, they learned from the Indians on how to take care of the land. On the other hand, there were many who came that did not understand, and many of them blew up meadows. They created some of those gullies that you may have seen on your demonstrations you were showing, so that they could drain the meadow and that their cattle can go out, in the meadow, and it wouldn't be a lake. So unfortunately for us, then, we began to lose that water system, because when that happens, then everything starts to dry up around the outer edges. And even in some of those nice restored meadow that you had up there in Modoc area, I was looking at the picture, and your hillsides were just thick with trees, and they weren't thinned out. So there was the canopy became too thick, and that's exactly what has happened even with our forest on a whole right now. Is that with our wildfires, our canopies are 80 to 90% thick instead of less than 40%, like when the Indian people were living on the land. So we need that openness, and that openness, it's already been described by a couple of the speakers earlier about how the meadows that were sponges. On the Sierra Nevadas, we have over 10,000 meadows that have been recorded. 70% are in need of maintenance or repair. 25% are non-existent. 5% are healthy. And that's pretty sad when we look at something like that. And so constantly we have folks who think that, we need more coffers on our rivers. We need more dams. We need to tunnel water from one watershed to another. And they don't realize that, like on the San Joaquin River, where we are located, we have 15 dams. And, we don't need another one. We need to get rid of some of them dams. And so what if we go back up to the upper watershed and start repairing these meadows, we won't need those dams. We can actually get rid of some of them that are very antiquated and are not really doing anybody any good. So these are the types of things that are important to us as we go out and work back out on the land. I myself, with the tribe, we have created an agreement with the Sierra National Forest. You can appreciate this, I'm sure, if that's the right word. It took us 5 years. Well, actually, I said 2003. So we worked out there on the meadows for 10, 11 years, and then it took us 5 years to write a plan so that we could do our own burning, we can do our own certifications, we can do our own training, and we would run our own operation. And we actually got an agreement. It was signed 3 years ago in 2018, yet to be implemented. And we are just now in the planning process for a little bit of that implementation. So, working with governmental agencies is, of course, not an easy chore, and getting them to understand what needs to be done. On the other hand, when it comes to that we have restored out there, the 6 that we've already done, the ranchers came out and, 6, 7 years ago, they all, brought their quads out and sat there and watched us work. and then, after a little bit would say, "Oh man, you can't believe we've been asking the forest for 20 years to restore this meadow." And, so what do you need? More chainsaws, we need more equipment. We need more helpers. Well, here's $500, here's $2,000, here's $1,000. We loved it. And, because not only were we doing something for them, we were doing something as well for the landscape, for the habitat that lived there, and really taking care of Mother Earth in the way that she needed to be taken care of. So this was a good thing for us. And, as we progress, we plan to keep moving forward. One of the things that we were showing there, tried to show there to you in the video, is our work over in Mariposa. We're working on, it's a 400-acre piece of property with Mariposa Creek running through the middle of it. And so, again, what we are doing, the resources, the cultural resources, including trees, acorns. And I know that I don't have much time, but a point that I like to try to drive home: everywhere we go, we record all the species that we first encounter. So on some of our meadows, we had maybe 5 or 6 different species, and that means, manzanita bush, acorn trees, soaproot, deergrass, bear, lion, deer. Who was on the meadow? Who came out there? Or in any one of our areas that we are working on, who utilizes this ground? Who lives here? So we try to record that. And after we've been burning, after we've been restoring, after we've been rejuvenating, using the old term, you build it and they will come. Many of these we're at 100 species, different species, up to 160 different species. Might start out with 5 or 6 birds, and before you know it, you have, hundreds of thousands of ladybugs, and now you have 20, 21, 25 different birds all coming to utilize that. And everything I've been listening to each of you speak was, it's important that you record who is coming back to your lands and who's utilizing your lands. And so, culturally, I can go on for a couple hours, but culturally important of the little oaks that come up, that deer will bring their fawns over there, and their fawns will eat the young oaks from 3 to 5 years. After a little oak is up for 5 years, then they won't eat it again until about 10 years old. And so during that period, then you go around, if you lived out there, and what we're doing right now is then we'll go and we'll either prune, trim, or burn some of those down and leave others up so that they can continue to feed. If you look at the deer, the mother takes about 2.5 years, maybe 3 years before she can get impregnated, and then about 8 months gestation. So you're looking at 3 to 3.5 years of a lifespan when that mother then will bring back her babies. And so if you're taking care of the plants in the same manner, then her babies will grow up for the next 2 or 3 years eating on those young trees. And all you have to do when you're walking around out there is take a look at one of them little oaks and see, you can tell exactly, was that last year's or this year's or last week's. So it's very important that we work together within the culture and the relationship that we have on the land. And so these are the kinds of things that we've been doing, and we'll continue to do it as long as we can. And there is real quickly a different cultural burning and prescribed fire control burning. Most of the agencies, what they're after is acreage to burn. The life back into the landscape that it needs to have. And so in some cases it works, but in many cases it's not working. And that's with us, is that when we put fire on the land, we expect a return within 1 month. And we expect it to be rejuvenated, and so that we have a sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Don't see any questions in the chat. Anybody have questions for Ron?
I do. Ron, how do you become involved if you want to volunteer at one of the burns?
Stay in touch, and I'm not sure where you're at, but there are different tribes that are burning throughout California. I know the Miwok up in Chico area burn, and the Karuk burn, and the Yurok burn. So a number of folks are trying to keep and get burning going in their areas as well.
I'm in Mariposa, so.
Okay. My next burn is February 12th through the 15th, but we're pretty full. Give me a call later or text me or whatever, and we can talk.
That would be great. Thank you.
Ron, could you put your contact information in the chat? I think that might be useful.
Yeah, I seem to have lost that capability. Hang on a minute. Where is it?
Ron, if it's okay, I'll share your email address in the chat for you, if that's okay.
That'd be fine.
Okay, I'll put that in there for you.
Yeah.
So Ron, we have another question for you. It says, what is your experience with beaver?
Other than when I grew up, I used to love beaver because we had quite a few at beaver dams and areas on the forest and along our foothill creeks. But since then, we haven't had any, and I personally have not worked with them.
Okay. Any other last questions?
So, Ron, could I ask you one? For those people who haven't had much experience interacting with tribal organizations previously, can you suggest what are good ways to make a first introduction, and for people who would like to learn more about the tribal cultures in their area?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's, that's not actually an easy answer. But the main thing is that you just try to get connected and let people know what your interests are, and that you're willing to work with them and help with them, and and if they, maybe you have expertise in other ways that you can help them with, and so that's an important part too. So then
Thank
you
you.
become a real partner when you're both helping each other.
Thank you.